This is the remix.
The Life of Dad Show.
Remix.
Hey everybody, Art Eddie here for the Life of Dad Show Remix. Here in Life of Dad Show Remix, we've taken interviews we've had with past guests and just put the spotlight with their thoughts on fatherhood. This week's version is a very special edition of the Life of Dad Show Remix. Why do you ask? Well, we are going to be sharing the interviews we've had with Archie Manning, Ken Griffey Sr., and Larry Fitzgerald Sr. All have made a name for themselves in their profession and passed on everything that they've learned into their kids so they could make a bright future for themselves as well. Really happy to share my interviews with Archie Manning, Larry Fitzgerald Sr., and Ken Griffey Sr. Enjoy.
Hey everybody, it's Art Eddie for the Life of Dad Show and On the Line. I'm so happy to have the pleasure of bringing Archie Manning on the show. Thanks for taking the time today, Archie. How you doing?
Yeah, my pleasure, Art. Glad to be with you, pal.
Here at Life of Dad, we're going to be talking a lot of things about fatherhood. For Cooper, Peyton, and Eli, when they started playing football in maybe grade school or high school, what was like maybe the two big staples you kind of told them, like, all right, when you're playing, be ready for this?
Well, it really started in all sports. They like sports. I don't think I feel like I pushed them in sports.
Sure.
But I will say I was glad they had an interest. I think athletic sports is good for young people if they like it, because it really does, one thing, it consumes a lot of their time, and I think that's a good thing now in our society. And I think there's a lot of value there. There's a lot of things to learn, especially in team sports, how to be part of a team. You learn how to deal with adversity, you know, how to deal with good things, with winning too, and the teamwork part of it, being coached, taking direction, having proper attitudes, sacrificing things, a lot to learn. I really didn't want mine playing tackle football until about the 7th grade in an organized way at school. So that's what they did, and there's nothing wrong with playing football. And I was a little old-fashioned. I always encouraged them to go play in the yard, play football in the yard. That's kind of what we did growing up, in small towns in Mississippi. Kids don't do much of that anymore.
Yeah.
But they went from sport to sport and played a lot of baseball early on, a lot of basketball, a little bit of soccer, a lot of just ball in the backyard. And then I think it was about the 7th grade when they started organized football. And it was no big deal. Just we had a rule kind of on anything they play. If you go out for something, you're going to stay out. If you think there's any doubt you're not going to like this project, then don't do it because you're not going to quit. So, but football was always a good experience for them, and they had good coaching and fun. One of my rules was just you got to have fun. Football is supposed to be fun, and I think they did.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. And I'm very curious, family gatherings and all that. When Cooper, Peyton, and Eli kind of get together, I mean, you guys have a great family. I love seeing you guys with the different commercials, but everybody's involved. Who would you say, and I hate to put you on the spot, but who is the funniest out of the three, or who tries to be the funniest? Somebody try and say that. Who tries to be the funniest out of the three?
Cooper's always been the guy that kind of keeps everybody laughing in our family. He's been funny since he was a little boy.
Nice.
Kind of just has a good sense of humor. He may be a little bit crazy at times. He does funny things. I think Peyton and Eli have always been a good audience for him. I think the main thing is the three of them get along real well. They obviously, all of us don't get together as much as we'd like to with everyone spread out. But I know when those three get together, they do laugh a lot and they have fun. And that, as a parent, that makes me feel real good.
Nice. Cooper's the oldest. Was he kind of made sure that they were okay and all that? Was he kind of like the big brother always watching out for them?
Cooper was just 2 years older than Peyton.
Okay.
So, you get a little competition there. And they didn't particularly get along great at times, brothers are, but when they got into high school, they played sports together, and certainly they got along a lot better. And Eli was 5 years behind Peyton, 7 years younger than Cooper, so that's a pretty big gap there. They kind of let him play, and sometimes then I guess if they got bored, they kind of harassed him a little bit. I guess that's what you do with little brothers.
Yep.
All in all, it was a pretty smooth thing, and as I said, at the end of the day now, one of the most rewarding things to me is the three of them get along so well.
Yeah, which I'll kind of touch base in just a brief second. But I did see a trailer for the Book of Manning that's going to be airing later this month on September 24th on ESPN, and it takes the viewer even more inside to your family and all that. I've seen it has some highs and lows, obviously, that happened in your life. How did this project come about, and was it something you kind of thought out, or did people look out for you?
So they just came to me and wanted to do it. You know, it's kind of a popular thing on TV now. You see it, the 30 for 30 series on ESPN. I think NFL Network has a Football Life, but this is something that really started 3 or 4 years ago. ESPN in the Southeastern Conference called SEC Storied, and they came to me. I know they had done one on Herschel Walker. I had seen Bo Jackson, a good friend of mine up at Tennessee named Condridge Holloway, and just told me they wanted to do it. It took us a while to get going. I had a lot on my plate, and it kind of started, and I told them we had to delay it for a while. Peyton was going through those neck surgeries and so forth. So, but we came back and allowed them to do it and just let them go. And so it's getting ready to come out. Livy and I have viewed it, and we liked it, and I think it's something our grandchildren are going to like, and hopefully some other people enjoy it. It does kind of go back to my childhood, my college football days. I lost my dad while I was playing college football and dealing with that, and then raising kids, and kind of it's not about pro football or anything as far as they're concerned, a little bit more about their high school days and making some decisions, and also a couple of the tough things that Cooper had to go through as an athlete.
Yeah, again, you guys kind of open up the doors again, because I think it's a very interesting story, but also kind of just shows, especially you just didn't want to quit. You just kept on going. So I think it's a really good life lesson for people to take a look at this video, this documentary. So I appreciate you guys doing that. And obviously with everything of the success that you've had, and then of course your family, you guys are well known. Many people look to Cooper, Peyton, and Eli as role models. Now, for me, I have 2 daughters, 5 and 3. When they get older, I would love to see people say, like, oh, you know what, your daughters are good role models. That kind of has to send a message to you and your wife that I'm not trying to make you brag about yourself, but you guys did a great job raising your sons. What are you most proud of out of the 3 sons?
First of all, if there's anybody that needs credit for them turning out pretty well, it would be Olivia. We've been fortunate enough to be married 42 years, and she's not only a great wife, she's been a wonderful mother. But Olivia and I are, we've just been really so blessed to have 3 boys that have, all 3, and Cooper just as much as Peyton and Eli, have given us such great joy and happiness through the years. And now they've all 3 are married to great girls, all have families, have children, and grandchildren's the greatest thing in the world. So again, we've just been so blessed. But I think the thing I'm proudest of is what I said before, the fact that they all get along so well. And I don't know, at my age, I see siblings that don't always get along, one problem or another, and that's kind of sad to me. So I think it's I know Livy and I feel the same way. Sure, we pinch ourselves sometimes to have 2 sons playing quarterback in the National Football League, but at the end of the day, I think what gives us the most joy that they're all 3 of them are happy, and that they all get along so good.
Excellent, and I think that's something very to be proud of. And my last 2 questions: what are some of the main life lessons that you taught your sons, you and your wife, kind of when they were growing up?
Priorities was always a word we threw around a little bit. As you get older and you got a lot of things hitting you in the face there, and schoolwork and social and sports and so forth. And my mother used to do this. My mother when you didn't know the meaning of a word, she'd say, go look it up in the dictionary. And
Nice.
If you look up priorities in the dictionary, it says what's most important. So I think we always tried to emphasize to the boys, kind of take a good look at what's most important. And, your faith, your family, your schoolwork, and then if your sports and extracurricular and friends and all that thing, those things come in there. So that was something we used. I guess the other thing, I think our young people today in our country and our society I think it's tough times for them. Not tough times, that's not the word. I just think they all have a lot of challenges. Mm-hmm. And I think if we can and this is what we do with our children, if we can just try to remind them when they've got a decision to make, just kind of take a deep breath and step back and just try to do what's right. What do you think's right here? What's the right thing to do here? And I think if you can, be a little patient and take time and make that right decision, then things will be a lot better.
I think those are great pieces of advice, and you can kind of see it through all three of your sons and how they interact in life from what we see, obviously, as a third party and all that. And lastly, you kind of touch on it. This is the fun part. As a grandfather, you get to see your sons take on the role of being a father. And it's just kind of, you and your wife, Olivia, just kind of look back. What is the best part of being a grandfather?
Oh, I think just being around grandkids and laughing with them and seeing them grow and develop and spoil them a little bit, but gosh, it's great to take them to get a cheeseburger or have them spend the night or go to a ball game or go to their ball. Livy and I spent our life going to ball games, little league games, and now they're all active. Some of them are still a little young, but the ones that are old enough, they're getting active in the same little league and basketball and so forth. So it's just, I always say it's underrated. People tell you how great grandchildren are, but it's really underrated. It's better than they tell you it is.
Nice, because like you said, you can treat them out for burgers and maybe ice cream, get them all sugared up, and then send them off to your sons and be like, have fun.
There you go.
Archie, thank you so much. I know you're a very busy guy. I appreciate you taking the time. You take care, okay?
All right, Art. My pleasure. Thank you, pal. All right.
Hey everybody, it's Art Eddy, and on the line, I'm happy to have Larry Fitzgerald Sr. Thanks for taking the time, Larry. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It's an honor to talk to you. We all know about Larry's fantastic career in the NFL with the Cardinals. For you, was there a moment in time when you were watching, maybe in high school or college, that you're like, yep, he's definitely going to make it into the NFL?
Well, since he was 10 years old, and, my business has been covering sports, writing about sports, and talking to, thousands of athletes and coaches over these years. I feel like I've got some instincts because I played the game myself, and
sure,
I certainly went through some ups and downs as an athlete, and then, not everything worked out the way I wanted it to. And so every lesson that I learned, the hard ones, I wrote them down and made certain that if I was blessed to have any children, and I, was blessed with that, and, I taught Larry and Marcus, the mental side of sports and tried them to make them aware that they have to be accountable and to be a team player. And hopefully if they could find a way to love something and love a game, then go out there and do it, because that's what I did. And that's how I had success. And so they kind of, believed me a little bit, and then they start showing me. And I could tell with 10 years old, that even when Marcus and Larry were trying to play Pee Wee football, that, Larry had a special gift of playing a physical game like football. As a little 10-year-old, he wasn't afraid.
Yeah.
And I could see how much he enjoyed it. And so from that point, I kind of kept it my secret that I'm just going to do what I can to try to help him, stay in a game or any game that he wants to play.
Yeah, no doubt. And just kind of speaking with your experience, and since you were playing the game, when he started getting into the NFL, would you guys kind of look at tape to help him develop when he started out his career in the NFL?
Well, Larry had so much understanding of the game from the time he was in high school. I'm not kidding you. The advantage of being in a position of hosting and producing a NFL head coach's show,
yeah,
and having your child literally be a ball boy on the team, he's learning from Randy Moss, okay, one of the greatest players to ever play, and Chris Carter, a Hall of Famer, Jake Reed, so many guys, even the late Orlando Thomas, who just died here recently, one of my favorite players who played for the Vikings, came in as a rookie in '95 and had 9 interceptions. And so my children have learned, and Larry learned, from all of those guys, not only how to catch a football, but how to, do things right, how to be responsible. He learned some bad things too. But the point is, we were able to separate those and get him focused on what he had to do to make himself a better player. And he really kind of got to do that doing that job as a ball boy for those summers. He saw that 1998 Minnesota Viking team that was 15-1, had the highest scoring team in NFL history. And now he's on a team that has a chance to do something very similar. They're 8-1.
Yeah,
they got the Super Bowl in their own stadium, and he's one of their top players. So you learn from those experiences, and if the Lord puts you in a position where you're on a team that's that good now, that maybe you can help learn from that experience that can help your team now today.
Yeah, well said. Last question before we get into fatherhood. Has there been a favorite, maybe, I'm guessing it's maybe the Super Bowl, but has there been a favorite moment so far in Larry's career with the Cardinals that you have?
Oh, there's been so many, and certainly, he's still adding to it. Last week, 9 catches for 112 yards and a huge win over the St. Louis Rams, and of course they lost their starting quarterback, Carson Palmer, for the season. So now, he's got to tuck the belt and, lead that team somehow to where they're trying to go without their, captain and starting quarterback. So that's a tremendous challenge that Larry has, and watching him play and prepare every week is very gratifying, because he certainly learned a lot. And he's 31. He's still a young guy.
Oh, yeah.
And, watching him do what he did to help his team with Kurt Warner back in 2009, get to the Super Bowl and come within 10 seconds of being a world champion was something that you'll never forget. And all the great Pro Bowls he's had, he's been an MVP in a Pro Bowl, and as I said, he almost won the Heisman. So there have been so many great moments in his career, and I just feel like I've been blessed to be able to not only watch it as a journalist, but to enjoy it as a parent.
Yeah, and speaking about fatherhood, let's go into some questions now. Just talking about some of the good things and bad things that he might have learned from different players and stuff while he was a ball boy. One of the things that the wide receivers have, kind of the stigma of like being a diva. I've never seen the diva qualities in Larry. I think that comes from your upbringing for them. Can you tell me some of the morals that you look to instill in your children as they were growing up?
Well, just to be responsible, to be accountable, and that you have to respect the game and love the game and realize that you're not playing it by yourself. You're out there with a team and coaches and trainers and equipment folks that are all out there trying to help you be the best that you can be. And so you owe it to not only yourself, but to your teammates to go out there and give it your best, and always put team first. Now, when you're a wide receiver, you're playing a position, and I taught them this at an early age, that, hey, if you want to be a wide receiver, you better realize this. You're not a running back where a quarterback turns around and hands you the ball and you get it like 25, 30 times a game. You're playing wide receiver. And so sometimes you're going to have to block, and sometimes you may not get the ball. And, if they don't get you the football, you could get angry from that. So you got to learn from that, and he did. He had good examples and bad, with Randy and Chris, and he got to see some of the greatest receivers go through frustrations when they weren't having it their way.
Yeah.
But he also learned from playing and watching a great football player like Barry Sanders, who anytime he scored or did something spectacular, he got up and handed the ball to the official. And I think he learned that it's great to be humble when you're playing a great game, too.
Yeah, well said. As parents, we look to teach our kids certain things and values like you were just talking about. But what are some of the things that you have learned from Larry and Marcus? What have they taught you as they've gotten older?
To be able to adjust on the fly as a parent.
Okay.
And sometimes to let some things go. I want to do it one way, and I believe that my way is the right way, and I think that's been proven. But when they have bumps in the road in terms of their lifestyle or the things they're trying to do, and they do something that maybe I didn't do or wouldn't do, you really just have to bear down and talk about it, one, get it out, and then just deal with it and go on. And that's what I've been able to do with him, and it's been working out with not only Larry but also with Marcus. So they both have taught me that they learn from all those experiences and all those times that I didn't think they were, listening to me, or when I was forcing them to read my columns or whatever the case may be, or listen to my radio shows, that they heard enough to to get the point.
Nice, I love it. Finally, before we get into the Life of Dad Quick 5, last question is, what advice do you have for new dads out there?
Well, it's a very challenging situation, but, to be a dad, it takes planning, and to become a dad, that you talk about it, with the person that you love. And so that's what I did. That's what was taught to me. And I'm hoping that, the fathers that are out there recognize that. Now, if you don't go that route and have a child, say, out of wedlock or by a girlfriend or something like that, hey, you still have the same responsibility as a father that's in a marriage. That's your son, that's your daughter, that's your child. You know them everything. You've got to make certain that you take care of them and teach them and nurture them and make them aware that you love them and they're going to take care of them. And that's your responsibility, and you can't back away from it.
Well said, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on that. Now we're going into the Life of Dad Quick 5. Just 5 quick questions. First one is, what was your favorite family movie that you guys liked to watch together when they were growing up?
Wow, that's I'm still thinking about that one. I can't think of any particular movie that we looked at as a family that stands out for me. I hate to say that, but that's just the truth.
No worries. A lot of people say it switches every 5 minutes.
No, okay.
So I get that. Did you guys have a favorite song that you guys like to dance to as a family?
I love music. I've been in the radio business, and so I've worked for a number of urban contemporaries. So I'm always listening to the great music before they give me my little 5 or 10 minutes of sports, and then back to the music. So I love all great music.
Nice. Describe the perfect family vacation.
Well, I haven't had many, but fortunately, before my wife passed, we turned work into some vacations many times, and I was fortunate enough to take my wife and family to the Pro Bowl in Honolulu.
Nice.
And those were just tremendous trips. Being able to come together and go across the ocean and to put your feet in the sand and to be with your children and nurture them along to see Pro Bowl football players and that type of thing. But to just enjoy the experience and love doing it.
Nice.
And then, some of our family reunions in the South, those were great opportunities that I truly enjoyed. Whenever you can go down to New Orleans, Louisiana, and that type of thing, or go to Chicago over the Christmas break. Those were, I wouldn't say vacations, but they were short times, 3, 4, 5-day periods that really stand out, that I treasured as a parent and as a father and as a husband, and when you encompass the family.
Yeah, no doubt. Sometimes it's not where you go, but as long as you're together. So I get that. Other than your son's Super Bowl, which Super Bowl was your favorite that you've covered?
Oh, wow. That's a really hard one. The thing I learned about the first Super Bowl that I ever covered was Super Bowl 15 in New Orleans, Louisiana. That's where my wife was born. And I love New Orleans, and I love the way the city embraces just, hey, come on and let's do it. Let's eat, let's have a great time, let's party. And then when it's time to play some football, we can get that on too. All the games have always been in that Superdome. So even today, as many years as it's been, it's still the same place for me. And so it's such a tremendous memory whenever I go back there that you can bring back to today and now. And so the first Super Bowl stands out because I had no credentials or anything, but I went there knowing that if I believed that I should be there and I wanted to learn from the experience, that I had to go through being told no. And so I challenged myself and covered my first Super Bowl between the Raiders and the Philadelphia Eagles. And by the grace of God, the NFL allowed me to get a credential.
Nice.
And I covered it. And from that point on, I made certain that I got my application in on time. And ever since then, I've covered the Super Bowl. So the first one has to be the most important one, because it got it all started for me, and it taught me that if I could find a way in my reporting to cover every game, whether it's basketball, hockey, baseball, football, whatever the case may be, that I had to do it with the enthusiasm of covering a world championship. If I could do that then I think I could last for a little while. Here it is, 36 years. I'm still going.
Yeah, well said. I know you're a grandfather, so tell me the best thing about being a grandfather is?
Just the love that just those little guys give you when they see you, and to call you grandpa is just it just melts you. It's just a special thing, and I just love watching these guys grow up from the time we were changing the diapers to where they are now, and they're 6 years old.
Nice. Love it. Love that answer. Larry, thank you so much for taking the time. People, make sure you check out his work. Of course, we'll put links at Life of Dad so you can see his great work. It's been an honor talking to you. Like I said, continued success.
Okay. Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
All right, you take care now.
All right.
Hey everybody, it's Art Eddie for the Life of Dad show, and on the line I'm so happy to have and honored to have Ken Griffey Sr. on the line. And thanks for taking the time, Ken. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, hanging in there.
Like I said, man, it's a real honor to talk to you. So many great moments in your career. You won the World Series twice. You won the MVP award for the All-Star game, and like you kind of mentioned, and I'm going to get to a little bit later, you played with your son, obviously Ken Griffey Jr. Is there one moment that kind of stands above the rest?
Well, there's a few moments really, but the one probably I think was probably that stood out more so the opportunity to get to play with Junior.
Yeah.
And we ran out on the field together August 31st, 1990.
Yeah.
And like I said, the scenario for me to get to Seattle after I had retired and went through the whole thing, and Bill White called and told me to sit still, don't move, and because the thing was, if you retire, you have to wait 60 days before you can be reinstated.
Yep.
And the biggest difference was that this was all at the end of August. We only had 30 more days before the season was over, and everyone was talking about, well, Tim McCarver had mentioned it on television that, that would be a story and a half if he had a chance to go play with his son, and that's when he mentioned the fact that I had to wait 60 days. And that's when Bill White called about an hour later, and he said, hey, what happened? I told him what happened. And he said, I'll call you back. And when he called me back, he said, call Mark Schott and thank her because you're on your way up to Seattle. And like I said, getting the opportunity to play with Junior was the highlight of my career.
Yeah. I mean, I love there are certain things, the way you put in the book about you're in the outfield together and you kind of look over and you're like, man, that kid's got some potential. Like, wait a minute, that's my son. That's just heartwarming. I totally I get goosebumps when I hear that, man. And one of the things I also get goosebumps is I knew it before reading this book, but reading it from your perspective and just watching the video over and over again, when you and your son hit back-to-back home runs in 1990. Take me back to that moment, and what do you remember from that?
Oh, I remember, Harold being on first base, Harold Reynolds.
Yeah.
And I hit a home run to the left side of the field. So I'm rounding third, heading for home, and the first one's going to meet me is him. And I'm looking into his eyes, and I see the difference in transition. I mean, I know his concentration was sky high.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, and then, after he gave me a high five and he went, got the batter's box, Harold Reynolds and I were talking as we were walking back to the dugout, and Harold said, if he hits this home run, it'll be the first time father and son ever did it. And I didn't think of it that way. And Harold, I guess, and him and Junior had been talking about it, and that's what happened. When he hit that home run, when it went to 3-0, I didn't think he was going to have a chance.
Yeah.
And he hit a fastball or a sinker going away, hit it out of left field over Dante Bichette. I said, you got to be kidding. But it was an amazing night for both of us, really. I mean, when he hit home plate, he was looking for me the whole time and grinning. I mean, he was grinning from ear to ear. And that was a fun time when he was just grinning at me and gave me a big hug. I said, oh my God, he did it. And all the pressure was on him.
Yeah.
And he was the stud. He was the man that was the player.
Yeah. Growing up watching you guys play, and then obviously I remember having a couple of his baseball cards growing up, and he had that iconic swing, and he had, like you said, the smile, man, and everyone called him the kid, and it was fun to see him. So for you as a parent, it's great to see your kids succeed in something not only that you love but they love as well, right?
Yeah, it's always great. Well, to even watch it, that was the big thing. Get a drill that it was like that goosebumps on myself. To watch him, how well he played, and what kind of player he was, and how he developed. Because all I can remember is him being 12 years old in the backyard, throwing, and I'm explaining to him what he has to do. And at the time, when he was 12, and he told me he wanted to be a major league player, I said, well, this is how we're going to work at it. So we worked at it.
Nice. So can we credit you for the beautiful swing?
Well, I mean, most of it. But, like I said, the thing was, I told him as he got older, I said, when you get older, you're gonna do some changes. You're gonna make some changes.
Yeah.
And I knew when he got about 6'2", 6'3", and I know he can hit the ball at any part of the ballpark. I said, well, he'll probably stand up. He'll start doing a little different things to experiment because he knows he can hit it out of left field just as well as right field. And as he got older and he started playing a little more, now he developed that little swagger at the top where he's wiggling the bat and everything else. And I said, well, he's got his own little style now.
Yeah. So
because he used to emulate me when he was in high school, he tried to hit like I did. I was kind of crouched over, I wasn't the type that's going to hit very many home runs. I was going to hit the ball around, use the whole field. And he can use the whole field, but he can drive it out of the whole field. But he stood up, and that's when he started making a big change.
What are some of the morals that you look to instill in your children as they were growing up?
Well, I always the biggest thing I always ask them, you know right from wrong?
Yeah.
And Junior and Craig, I always had that answer in my daughter. Yes, I know right from wrong. So I said, well, and the other thing was a quote probably from the Bible that do unto others as you have them do unto you. And I just wanted them to understand that, if you do things that are bad, it's going to come back to you.
Yeah.
But if you do the right thing, that'll come back to you twofold. So just do the right thing and everything else, and then you won't have to worry about anything coming back on you later on in life.
Nice, man. Well said. And for the new dads listening to the show right now, do you have any advice for them out there and what to look out for, or what to maybe not support the small stuff on certain things?
Well, the biggest thing that I was a fan of was the fact that when you have young kids, let them play. Let them enjoy the game as a game.
Okay.
Because I've seen so many parents get into fights and all kind of argue and holler and screaming at their kids and stuff, and they're pushing them. Just let them play. I mean, if they're young kids between 7 to 15 years old, let them play, let them enjoy the game. And then you'll find out as they enjoy the game more, they will get better and they'll want to play the game.
Well said, man. And lastly, for you, you have some grandchildren. What is the best part about being a grandfather?
Just having them around me. Just enjoy being around them. I can teach them, I can show them stuff. I got one that's 7 years old. And, his name is Makai, and he lives with a amazing little guy. Very intelligent, but he's funny, and we have a lot of fun together. And he's very competitive too. But I let him play. I let him go out there and play. He plays basketball. He plays baseball. His biggest sport right now is baseball. He's pretty good at swinging the bat right now.
Nice.
So he looks like a little Prince Fielder right now from the right side. So, but it's fun to just sit and watch him. I'm trying to get my son, my grandson Nate, Craig's son, into the game so he can start enjoying himself. He's a sophomore in high school, and I really got to start working with him.
Ken, thanks so much for taking the time, man. I appreciate you talking about fatherhood. Ken, again, continued success with everything you're doing, and I appreciate the time.
I appreciate you giving me a call. Thank you very much.
All right, you take care.
All right, you too.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening to the Life of Dad Show. You know where to find us, lifeofdad.com, and on Twitter and Facebook.